Howdy, folks. Welcome. It's kind of an impromptu show tonight. I actually wasn't going to do a show. I'm still kind of coughing, but just had some random thoughts. And Marvin and I here, we were visiting, and so I asked him to be on with me. So, how you doing, Marvin?
I'm doing good. So, trying to get the last outdoor projects done before we go back to winter.
Shame on you for talking like that.
Yeah, stop cursing.
I didn't say the S word.
Yeah, fair enough. So, I've had kind of an exciting week. We sold our trailer down to some people in Arkansas. And so I made a quick trip down to Nebraska to meet them. And Luke went with me. And so, excuse me just a sec.
No, you're fine.
And like always, we talk about a lot of things, but I've had some things on my mind for a long time as far as the stuff with our school boards and just politics in general, and how we've gotten this way. It doesn't seem like any institution, I mean, you pick it, any of the institutions of whether it be schools or healthcare, churches. I mean, you pick your deal. It doesn't seem like we can trust any of our institutions. Not that that's what they were designed for, but something that's really kind of been on my mind is we talk about this stuff with Jason Aldean, this Jason Aldean song. And I'm just gonna get out there right now and say I have nothing against Jason Aldean. I don't. What I find kind of funny is the people that are backing him now are the same ones that were cussing them guys a few years ago, saying that they weren't country enough. So where I'm going with this is I don't understand as us as a society how we can get so fired up about something like that, but yet we won't do our civil duties. We won't show up for city meetings, county meetings, and I'm just as, guilty as the next person. I've been involved for a couple years now. But yeah, I just I don't understand it, and this was some of the things that I was talking with Luke about and some other people, and a lot of it boils down to the effort that people put in, or the lack thereof. What do you think?
Well, I mean, complacency got us to where we are. It really did. And I mean, we're all guilty of it because we're in North Dakota. We're at the top of the Bible Belt. We're in God's country. We shouldn't have to worry about our government because we're a small state. It shouldn't be. We shouldn't have to show up and yell at school board meetings. We shouldn't have to show up at the Capitol and scream and shout. We shouldn't have to show up at city commission meetings to get chickens passed in people's backyards. We shouldn't. We are a rural community. We're a farm state.
Shouldn't have to fight to not have certain channels or websites allowed on a MacBook from a public school. Lindsay and I talked about.
Oh, really? So Sarah just said from the background, you shouldn't have to worry about fighting for what now?
Certain websites to be blocked on the kids' public schools' MacBooks or Chromebooks, whatever they come home with, because the teachers have access to all of these channels, and so the children have access to all these channels and websites, and it is the children's responsibility to know what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, children.
But you have a work environment like my work. They block so many different websites that you cannot access because they're deemed inappropriate for work. So you can block all of these websites for work things, but you can't do it for children who are 6th, 7th, 8th grade. They're seeing these pornographic videos, they're seeing suicidal videos, they're seeing like all these different grotesque things. And the school says, well, the teachers rely on YouTube to do their class. So they are
Yep.
not going to block YouTube. Or they're not going to block this website. They're not going to block that website. But you get into a
Take that.
all of it's blocked.
Take that even further, Sarah. You know, we just decided to homeschool this year, and they started here in June. And our son flat told us that they spend 3 to 4 hours a day. So that's half of their day in school on a computer.
Yep.
On a computer.
And they don't
have
any regulation on what they can and cannot go to.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I remember. So I was in high school just as the internet was coming out, if that ages me at all. So, and I remember sitting in computer school, and yeah, there was no, or computer class, and there was no regulation on it at all.
Well, there wasn't anything there.
Yeah, that's true enough. True enough.
Yeah, that was still like the innocent period of the internet where you're like, hey, cool, I can look this up now. And it'd be encyclopedia stuff for homework.
Not even.
Yep.
It was like few websites.
I mean, when the internet came out, you still blush when you walk past certain sections of the gas station, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Yeah. No kidding, right? So, did you watch Kit Brennan at all today with Don? Don Hollingsworth was on again.
Nope. Kit, I always watch her shows the next day or the like tonight. So I knew Don was going to be on today, and I'm actually going to be on with Kit next week with somebody regarding just some crazy stuff going on in a small town. So I love Kit's shows, though.
Yeah, they're very informative. They were talking about the Williston audit, and they were talking about the school systems. And one thing that she brought up was our numbers. And she even brought up LeBron James's I Promise school down there in Akron, Ohio. And one thing that she said, and if you guys go back, it's called, what we're talking about is called Uncensored, right? What's it called?
Common Sense
Again.
Uncensored.
Yeah, there you go. Common Sense Uncensored. And it's on every Monday afternoon. But she's just a great lady. Of course, she was on a couple weeks ago with us. And anyway, she's talking about LeBron James' school and the fact that he spends like over $1 million. I don't remember the exact figure. If you can go on and watch, she'll tell you. But he spends over $1 million a year, and they haven't been able to pass a math test in 3 years since starting that school. Does that make sense?
No.
So,
Well, and what's Phil Jackson's school up in Williston up there too?
that I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt your thought.
Nope. I was just going there. I was going to see what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think our school system needs a drastic overhaul. When we graduated high school, going out of state was very easy to get a job if you were from North Dakota, because you had the grades to go with it. You had just the overall comfort that you were from North Dakota. So when you applied for a job, that work ethic was automatically applied to you, whether you had it or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I saw that when I was out in Minneapolis. I saw that when I was out in Montana. Like, it was really easy to get a job once they knew you were from North Dakota, because they knew they didn't have to worry about you showing up. They knew they didn't have to worry about having to struggle to teach you what you needed to learn. Yeah. And there's a reason more and more parents are homeschooling. I mean, we're going to be homeschooling little girl here. We started 2 years ago already, just kind of letting her ease into and pick her subjects as we go. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we it's the best decision that we've ever made. I mean, we found out a lot of things. Anytime one of the kid, because we have a special needs child, and anytime that he had an issue, they wouldn't press him on it. They wouldn't make him do his work. They would just send him to the resource room and they'd play games or do whatever else they needed to do just to, and, so, but we were a little different too. Angel and I were, when we signed him up for school, we were very dead set on, we're very hands on with Josiah. We always have been. Um, and even as hands on as we were, there was stuff that we missed. And so she started in about a month, and it didn't even take a month. She's like, because we kind of butted heads on it well, I shouldn't say we butted heads. There was just healthy discussions about it for 2 years. And, once we made that decision, Angel said, she's like, I wouldn't have it any other way now. So, but the other thing that they were talking about was obviously our state numbers, like only 40% of our students are,
Yes, leave it.
how does that work now with the insights, the numbers again? So 40% of the students got like a passing grade, and there was 39% can read and write.
Okay, maybe.
The proficiency. Yeah.
Yeah, the proficiency scores that are proficient in. So we're spending all this money. I mean, you can go to your school district and find out how much it is. I think the last time that I checked, I know when I was running for school board, it was like in between 11 and 13,000 a student that we were spending. And they can't do math. They can't read and write. Really?
Well, and
What are we doing with all this money? Because to Kit's point, I don't think it's going to the right things. It's going to administrators. I mean, we got superintendents making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And what are they doing? I mean, really, what are they doing? Because they don't think they have to answer to the school board.
well,
And the school board doesn't think that they have any power to do anything. They listen to what the superintendent wants.
and like part of it goes back to the parents. It does, because we need to be more involved in it.
Exactly.
But if we don't know there's a problem, we can't fix it. And I'll use a personal story for me that I don't really talk about. My oldest daughter is 24 now. She was she second grade? Second grade. Second grade. I had shared custody with my ex-wife. It was my day to pick her up after school, and there was a letter saying that Lily was going to be getting put into a special education class. And I was shocked, because this was the first time I've ever heard that she was having issues.
Yeah.
And so I set an appointment with the principal. I went and I sat down with the teacher. I sat down with the special education instructor. I sat down with the principal. And they proceeded to tell me that my daughter wasn't past a kindergarten reading level as a second grader. And completely the first time I've even heard that she was struggling. And I refused the school to put her into this class. And I'm like, no. I go, you're going to give me a month. We're going to take this aptitude test over again. And if that point she fails, I'll agree to the special education class. And sitting down with my daughter, I realized that she suffered from the same dyslexia that I did. So literally every day after school, we'd spend 2 hours?
30 minutes.
Some
30
days were
minutes
longer
to
than
an hour,
others. 30 minutes to an hour working on reading. And
Depending on where she was mentally.
where she was mentally, because it was very taxing on both of us. I mean, there was a lot of tears shared around that table because everybody was frustrated because
Yeah.
you don't want to see your child fail.
Yep.
It got easier and easier, and so the month comes around and they retest her, and the results came back. She was reading on what level?
5th grade level.
She was reading at a 5th grade level after a month of work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last time they ever discussed her going through special education class. But if the school doesn't tell you, got made fun of for being too bored. Who was that?
I didn't say that.
Oh. But,
To
oh,
me.
I don't know. Random words are showing up on the board over here. But you look at the same kids that have ADHD, you look at the same kids who are on the autism spectrum, you look at all this stuff. The school's first response, I'm sorry, but it's to medicate these children.
Yep.
It's to put them on Adderall. It's to put them on Ritalin. It's to put them on
Yep.
something
Mm-hmm.
docile instead of
Sometimes 2 or 3 things.
trying to
Because
find a
they
better
get
solution.
more money if children are medicated.
They get more money because if children are medicated.
Yep.
But we shouldn't be hearing stories from the flip side for the teachers. Like, I think it was Max 50. The teachers had to fight for their annual raise, and they got
Yeah.
$300 for the year for their annual raise.
Mm-hmm.
Not per month, for the year.
Yep.
Yet they're talking about building stuff up there. I mean, you look at Williston, they're talking about building, but that $5 million, $10 million baseball diamond. Like, there's so much. I swear to God, if I hear another diamond going up before the teachers get decent raises, I'm going to lose my mind on our legislative assembly. That's not what they passed that money for. That's not what they passed the budget for. We don't need another baseball diamond. We don't need more administrators. We don't need more government hands in the pots in our schools through the form of health and human services. We need teachers to make a wage that makes them want to get up in the morning, go to school, do their very best, know that they're not going to be lacking on supplies, that they're going to have a retirement there at the end of their time in the public school system. That's where you spend the money if you want your kids to succeed. When the teachers quit caring, the kids quit learning.
Well, that I agree with that, but there's also issues with the teachers nowadays too.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I mean,
the good ones are getting tired of the bull jive. I think if we were to get rid of basically the teachers union would be a good start. Kirsten Baszler's office would be another good start. Parents need to start getting involved, going to the school board meetings, taking back your school boards.
Yep.
That would be a good start.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ways we can improve our education system. But, it goes back to the 1950s. I mean, it used to be that the moms were always stay at home. You could survive on a single income. But over the years, education, government involvement, debt, credit cards.
You have to have a double income.
You have to have a double income, which
That's
takes
what they want.
which takes your children out of your hands and puts them in the government's control.
That's what they want.
Yep.
They want government-raised children.
Yep. No, I stand by that statement of give me the school boards, the city boards, the county boards.
Townships.
Yep. Give me that stuff. Have that mess out in Washington. We'll fix our state.
Exactly. Well, it's like I said when I was painting, it's like I still say now when people send me national stuff. I don't have time to look at that. We can't fix that house when our own house is still broken. So, Yeah, I mean, we need to move forward. We need to find ways to move forward, and we need to be able to do it united instead of divided, which comes back around to your Jason Aldean song. I honestly haven't even listened to it yet. Not for lack
Neither
of,
have I.
or for lack of time. But I mean, what was it, 20 years ago, 15 years ago? Toby Keith did the American Way song, and everybody lost their mind about that.
Hmm.
You know?
Well, even go back further. We were listening to some This was some of the conversations we were having in the truck. We were listening to some of Charlie Daniels and Hank Williams Jr.
Yep.
The Outlaw Country.
And I mean, really, at the end of the day, we should be able to have conversations with people instead of yelling at people. And the internet has given birth to the troll, and the troll just doesn't go away because anybody at this point becomes a keyboard warrior.
Well, and that's the problem is you can't discern anymore because you get called racist or you get called a bigot, or I mean you choose your term, or you're being told that you're not, if you're a Christian and they use it against you, you're not supposed to judge. Well, to a point, yes, but God also gave you that deal to be able to discern between what's right and wrong. And there's a difference there, and people don't know that. They want to be quick to call names and different things like we can't. The mindset of don't talk about politics and religion has wrecked us, because that's exactly what we should be talking about.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yep.
We should be able to have healthy discussions around the kitchen table. And that's, I listened to a guy down in Texas. He's been on the show too. His name is Steve Friska. They have a fellowship down there. Just a second here. I'm going to take a drink.
Nope, that's fine.
Excuse me about that.
No
But
worries.
anyway, he talks a lot about that. About being able to discern. The Lord gave us that, what do you call it? Skill, but it's been lost because everybody is quick to call someone a name, or you're not supposed to judge people and this and that. It's really some of what's killed us. There's not enough conversations around the kitchen table anymore. And us as a family too, we've tried to get better at having family discussions, reading our Bible. A lot of people, I don't know, when you start talking about the Bible and reading the good book and getting into the Word, they kind of look at you crossways, and that's the problem, is because they've never opened up a Bible. I mean, and I'm just as guilty up until a couple
Hey, do you know how
years ago.
up?
I was the same way.
Well, us too.
Well, and you look at the churches too. We used to go to a church a couple years ago. We just had a falling out because Sarah had a very in-depth conversation with the pastor about tithing.
Oh, you're right on me.
And the pastor didn't care for what she had to say. Her question was, I don't have an income. How am I supposed to do my 10%? I don't have the money to do this. We're a single income house. Like, if I'm tithing my time, if I'm tithing the goods that I grow in my garden, if I'm tithing, and that was what she was getting at. Like, she wasn't looking at the money aspect of it. She was looking at giving of herself, of things that she did, of things that she created to help other families. And it turned into quite a blowout. But you look at this last Sunday, same passage, different church, completely different message. Completely different message. And so you gotta look at the whole. God comes to you with an open heart. If your heart's closed, if your pastor is pushing an agenda that you don't care for, you don't stay in that church. You find a new home. You know, I was raised Catholic. I was supposed to be the priest in my family. Like,
So was I.
I get it. I'm the eldest grandson. It was tradition, but I wanted to have a family. I wanted to do something different with my life. But if you don't want to go to church every Sunday morning, like, you should get up and it should be on your heart that you need to go. If you don't feel like you can talk to your pastor, if you don't feel like your children are learning the ways of the Bible, you're probably in the wrong church.
Yep.
And that, being in that wrong church, being in that wrong atmosphere, is just as hard on your spirit as not going at all.
Well, and I've went to church with Luke quite a bit since I've known him. And I've went to 3 or 4 different churches of theirs. Obviously they're apostolic. Anyway, I went to 4 different churches with him, and I was talking with him yesterday. This is one of the things I was going to mention, was the difference that I've seen between the apostolics and the Catholics, like how I was raised, was, so the apostolic, they don't call it mass, they just call it church, lasts a couple hours from the time they start till, and then they'll go to the same place and they'll eat, whether it be someone's house or a restaurant. Like, we went when we were in Fargo. He's got a friend out there who started a church who's affiliated with his family and that. Excuse me. And so, yeah, we went to church. Then we went and ate. So, excuse me, just a second.
No, you're fine, bud.
I was doing so good today.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then the difference that I've seen in the Catholic way is once the service is over, everybody just leaves. Then it's just like they're back to square one again. And I was like, I noticed the difference in that. I said, I noticed the more the family atmosphere, the more the brotherhood, because they won't talk bad about each other. If they have a problem with someone, they go and talk to them. Like, it's actually phenomenal to see. And that's one thing that has drawn me into that, is just the brotherhood that they share, because it's all about helping people. We were talking about some of the people, just how they're doing in life, succeeding, whether it be in business or their job or however you want to put it. I mean, they're just a happy people. And I don't get that. It was one thing that always bothered me about the other church. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, and maybe I was in the wrong frame of mind. I don't know, but.
Well, and I mean, we all have a journey. For me, I mean, I grew up Catholic. We've gone to Methodist, we've gone to Lutheran, we've gone to Baptist. And really right now, and for the last 5 years, we've been non-denominational Christian. And it's not because I have anything against any of them. I don't. For me, it's about finding a pastor that can stand on the podium with pure intent and deliver a sermon that you want to listen to.
I
Our
agree.
pastor is notorious for running overtime, like
Mhm.
every week. And I love it because his message is one that you want to sit and you want to listen to and you want to learn. He's somebody that when you're done, he stands out in the foyer and you can sit and you can just sit and chat with him, you know? And that's the conversations that you should be able to have. You shouldn't have to feel like you need to run out the door. But again, it goes back to American culture because what's our favorite sport around here?
Yeah.
It's
Football.
football. And guess what time football starts on Sundays?
Yeah.
We've really, as a country, started to ignore the Lord's Day. We have for years.
Yep.
And I mean, you even look at how far we got before COVID, where more and more and more stores were ignoring holidays. They were doing 24 hours through Thanksgiving. They were working people on Christmas, Christmas Eve. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's the one thing I'm grateful for with COVID is it brought these store hours back down to wanting people to be with their family. And I don't
Yep.
know if it was because the employers were forced that way or if it was because the employees had had enough getting worked to their bones that they're like, no,
Mhm.
I'm not coming in on Thanksgiving. I'm done at this time on Christmas Eve. And if you think you're going to be on Christmas Day, you're smoking something.
Right.
And I mean, even Walmart, their 24-hour thing, the grocery stores, their 24-hour thing. Now we're relearning times as to when things close.
Right.
And I appreciate that because it allows people to go home to their family at night.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
And that's where they should be.
yeah. So I mean,
So
yeah, it's I don't care what religion a person is, as long as they can have a decent conversation. You know, I will talk about God all day long. Yeah, I'm very
mm-hmm.
passionate about the subject. Even
Yep.
with atheists and agnostics, like I want to know why they believe what they believe.
Yep.
You
I
know?
agree. Mm-hmm. So last week, the guys from the Guns and 701, that's another podcast,
Yep.
Clay Peterson, and so they had Marty Beard on last week, and they were talking about heroes. And I thought it was kind of interesting because I got to thinking about it, you know, who are our heroes nowadays? And, of course, if Marty had, a bunch of his heroes, his grandfather and father, and some of these other guys that played a big part in his upbringing. And I guess the moral of the story is, you know, who is your hero? Like, what do you look up to? Do you look up the kids nowadays? Seems like they don't really have heroes like what we had or people to look up to growing up. And if they do, they're probably not very great. Um, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I thought that it was an interesting topic, and I thought they did a really good job on it. In in Marty's thing is he learned how to hunt. He learned how to use his hounds. Um, some life skills like making raccoon stew and different things like that, canning and stuff that a lot of people nowadays they have no idea how to do. So um, I thought that was quite interesting, and I have to agree with him because my wife she cans and does some different things, but I don't. I've helped my mom when I was growing up, but kind of going back and helping Angel now, and she's teaching our kids and stuff. So that's kind of some stuff that people kind of need to get to know again too. I thought it was an interesting subject. So
Well, yeah, I mean, we have so much based on the YouTube generation and instant access. You know, you have YouTube, TikTokers, um, athletes that are heroes, but don't you don't like athletes as heroes. You don't see the humility that you did when we were growing up. You know, you look at guys like Kirby Puckett. I mean, he was big when we were a kid, but he was very humble. He was one of the players that would stay after at the stadium and sign autographs for kids. He'd go out and do these shows, but you don't see that very. It's a rarity now. It is, and you know, our elders probably said the same thing at the time when we were kids. You know, were these kids heroes? Really, I mean, you should always be your children's hero. You should.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
like
I agree.
can do all sorts of stories about growing up ranching with my dad,
Yep.
and the big takeaway that I always took from my dad was you can do anything you set your mind to,
Yep.
and we should be able to instill that in our children. You know, we shouldn't. And I'm horrible about it with our little girl because she's been walking since she's 9 months. I cannot tell you how many times I tell her to get down off of something because she's literally our monkey. But the thing that holds me back where I tell her to get down or I tell her to stop is my fear of watching my child get hurt. But at the same point,
Let's
you
see
know,
where this goes.
yeah, you know, it's one of those, it's a hard thing, especially when it's a child that you had to fight to get in the first place. You know, you want to wrap the kid in bubble wrap and make sure that she's always protected. But at the same point, if you sit and hold her back, it's going to put that fear into her mind and she'll never leave her shell. You know?
Yep. Yep.
That,
That, and I
rambling away.
yeah, I always tell my kids, it's kind of funny that you use that line that you can do anything you put your mind to, because ever since Josiah was born, I tell him that every night. And yeah, no, I firmly believe that. So, but well, thanks, Marvin. I know we were just kind of impromptu. We were working on the speech for my deal down there at the Mike Lindell event, the Lindell event for next month. It's about 2 weeks away, so I'm excited for that. And and I can't thank you enough for helping me on that as well. And like I said, I wasn't gonna have a show. I'm still trying to get over this cough, but I had some things on my mind, and I appreciate you just being on here and let me gab your ear off. And to all the viewers out there, thank you for tuning in tonight for a little bit of everything. So, I guess with that, we could sign off. I appreciate it, Marvin.
Yeah, no, it's always fun, man. Anytime you need me to hang out for a bit, I don't mind. So as
sounds
you know,
good.
I can always talk if you ask the right questions.
Yep. That's true enough, eh?
All right.
All right.
All right.
Good night, everybody.